I'm a teacher. I'm a retired high school librarian, and about 5 years ago decided it was time to put the two halves of my lives together, the life of Deborah Davis, the person that's here, and the life of this other guy who went to school and taught and was a librarian. I decided to come out in the spring of 1998 to my staff of 150 people, my school of 1,700 students, to a district of over 40,000 students, and to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area of 2.5 million people. And it seemed like it got to be such big news that the rest of the country heard about it too. I literally left school on a Friday as the man and came back on Monday as Deborah Davis, the person that I am and the person that I feel whole about and the person who I really am. We assumed the staff would be professional, and most of them were. We assumed the parents would be okay because we kind of live in a kind of a yuppie part of the Twin Cities where these are all leftover hippies from the 60s. Not all of us, but a lot of us. And so the parents were pretty good with it. The students we didn't know. We had 1,700 students in my building. We speak 31 different languages. We had 42 different cultures represented. We had the International Baccalaureate students who compete with students all over the world. And we have the kids who struggle to get to school in the morning, so we had no idea what would happen. It was headlines in the Star Tribune, the newspaper. At least the picture was below the fold, so we didn't have to look at that. It was on all the television and radio stations. It was headlines everywhere, and the media literally surrounded our school building when I came out. The students, it happened, were pretty awesome about the whole thing. What happened is that it became politically correct to accept this. They had a 20-minute homeroom lesson on what it means to be transgender, which if you want to write a lesson plan, there's one to write, let me tell you. It was questions and answers and a really brief description of what it's all about. But it became politically correct in our building for the students to correct this. In other words, if you were walking down the hall and you were talking to a friend and said, "Our new librarian, he," they'd say, "Wait a minute, it's Miss Davis now. She's a she. Don't you get it? Are you stupid?" And that's what happened. We had no idea the young people were going to do this. And the reactions were from whatever to how can I help? I had a big football player come in that first day, and he said, "Miss Davis," and he walked over to the counter, he said, "Do you think you need some help getting out to your car?" And I said, "No, I think I'll be just fine getting out to my car, thank you." He was so sweet. And I'll never forget the young lady who came in, and she put her elbows on the counter, and the counter was about as high as your waist in a library, and she looked at me, and she looked at me, and she looked at me. And she said, "You know, you're the same person." And I looked up at her and I said, "Yes, I am." And she thought for a minute, and she said, "Well, you go, girl." And that was the kids. That was the wonderful reception we got from the young people. They literally wanted the media to go away and leave them alone. So none of the students would go out and talk to the media. They wouldn't go out there. After a day, believe it or not, it blew over. It was gone. It was huge for a day, and then it was gone because it happened too fast. And it was over, and we got back to educating our young people in the school. So I was told I was one of the first successful transgender people to ever transition in a high school in the country. It was very rewarding. I've been lucky because my family has been hugely supportive. My then wife was supportive. She's my ex-wife now. We had a very gentle divorce because she decided that she didn't want to be married to another woman. She wanted to be married to a man. I wasn't that for her, so we split. My children have been just awesome about it. My grandchildren love me, I think, almost as much as I love them. And let me tell you a quick story about my granddaughter. When I was transitioning and going one way or to another, my granddaughter was about 4 years old. And we were riding in the back seat of our car. And like teachers and educators, well, actually we were in the back seat of their van, like teachers and educators were either counting, or we're doing alphabets, or we're looking at colors. She's 4. And so she looked at me and she said, Debbie, let's count boys and girls. And I'm going, whoa, because she knows me both ways. I mean, I'm just that person in her life. And she said, let's count girls first. I said, okay, we'll count girls first. She says, Mommy up in the front seat is a girl. And I said, yes, Mother's a girl, my daughter. And she says, and she was talking about herself. She says, and I'm a girl. And I says, yes, Victoria, you are a girl. And she looked up at me and she said, Grandpa, you're a girl. Children get it. Again, I've been very blessed to have had all the support that I've had. And I think it's because there's a part of me that's extremely spiritual. And I do believe there's somebody up there, whether you call that person God or Muhammad or Jesus or Allah, it doesn't matter. And I believe that person created me a transgender person and also gave me the self-esteem to know that I'm okay. And so she's got to be a pretty wonderful, wonderful person. And I honestly believe that when I get to heaven and I pound on those pearly gates, the person there to greet me will be a loving, kind, and compassionate woman. And wouldn't it be interesting if she was a transsexual?